Good morning from San Jacinto Peak. This is a San Jacinto Trail Report on Sunday the 23rd of February 2020, just after 9 in the morning. And take a quick pan around. Here's the peak, and if we look out towards the Desert Divide, you can see there's still decent cloud cover at 7,000 feet on the west side of the mountain. And you can see that we picked up a few inches of snow yesterday, only about 3 inches here at the peak. In Idlewild at home we had about an inch. It was struggling to settle, so we may have had a little more than actually ultimately got measured. This morning at Humber Park, Devil's Slide Trailhead, it was about just under 2 inches. The greatest depth was about 4 inches at the high point of the PCT around Annie's Junction. That's around 9,000 feet. That's about PCT mile 180.8. So it was kind of what I call an upside down storm. Came in from the southwest, really came in through Strawberry Valley and where Idlewild is, so the very uppermost end of that valley got the most snow, and for large parts of the storm the high country above 9,000 feet was actually outside the cloud. That's how the high country ends up with less snow than some of the sort of upper mid elevations, kind of 8,000-9,000 feet. Of course, it's late February, so it's a bit of a shame we're only talking about inches, 2 or 3 inches rather than 2 or 3 feet. Total here at San Jacinto Peak now, with all the melting that we've had in recent weeks, we're down to, even including this extra 3 inches, probably barely 18 inches. So we're probably only at about 15 to 20% of what would be typical in late February, which is usually when we're at our maximum snow depth. In terms of the trails, this snow was a lot wetter than the storm we had 12 days ago. One consequence of that is that then it doesn't tend to get moved around as much by the wind, and so a lot less drifting in the trails. The trails are still relatively obvious. So I broke trail obviously from Humber Park all the way to the peak today. There are snowshoe tracks from somebody who was overnighting in the Little Round Valley on the west side, so there should be a reasonable track on that side, and I imagine folks from the tram will be getting up here somewhere in the next hour or two, so that trail will be in as well, so not too bad. In terms of gear, I actually didn't. I just came up in boots. I brought microspikes with me, didn't even use them. The snow, because it's so wet low down, is kind of balling up even on the bottom of boots, and then high up it's kind of a nicer, finer powder, but it's pretty easy going in reasonable boots, anything with decent grip. So I would carry microspikes, but I always do. So snowshoes are definitely overkill. There's not really enough depth unless you expect to be going substantially off trail, maybe going across to some of the other 10,000 foot peaks, something like that. Crampons and ice axe are really just kind of overboard at the moment. So in terms of weather up here right now, it was about 25 Fahrenheit. So what's that, -4 or 5 centigrade. Wind chill was 10 Fahrenheit. I think that's about -13 centigrade. So pretty chilly, but it's supposed to warm up extremely rapidly. We're looking at above freezing by the end of today, even up here at the peak, and above freezing up here all of this week. Possibly well into the 60s, maybe even touching 70 Fahrenheit, somewhere like Idlewild. So I mean, that's 20 centigrade, which is obviously unusual, very unusual for February. A good 10 to 15 degrees of Fahrenheit above average. So melting will be very quick. After the last storm, conditions were kind of back to pre-storm conditions within about 5 or 6 days after this storm. I suspect it'll return to normal, whatever normal is, after within probably just 3 or 4 days. That should be good news for PCTers. That'll make going relatively easy for them. Again, personally, if I was doing the PCT right now, I probably wouldn't bother with spikes. That depends on your comfort level on a bit of snow and ice, but it's, like I say, it's going to disappear really quickly. All of that said, supposedly there might be another small storm next weekend. I think Sunday the 1st of March, possibly into Monday the 2nd. Right now numbers are kind of similar to these last 2 storms, maybe 2, 3, 4 inches, something like that, but that, a week out, that's still tough to say for sure. Otherwise, a very beautiful morning up here as always at San Jacinto Peak, and there'll be some more information on the text version of the report. Otherwise, safe hiking everyone.